Chapter 29. Now, my mother rings the bell insistently, then again without dropping her hand, and again and again and again. Rita runs into the hall, skids on the tiles, then jumps at the door. She looks back at me, then up at the silhouette of my mother, framed inside the stained glass panel. She whines, confused. My chest feels tight, my face numb. I can't do this. My hand shakes uncontrollably, and as the doorbell rings again, panic builds inside me. Anna! I turn around, make my feet move. I walk away slowly towards the foot of the stairs. We have to talk about this. I need you to understand, Anna. Her voice is quiet, but she is pleading, desperate. I stand, one hand on the banister, one foot on the step. My parents are alive. Isn't this everything I've ever wanted for the last year? Grandparents for Ella, in-laws for Mark, my mum and dad, family. Anna, I won't leave it till you understand. I had no choice. And all at once I'm decided. I take the stairs two at a time, running from the hall, from the begging, from the excuses my mother's trying to give for the inexcusable. No choice. I had no choice. No choice but to grieve for my parents. No choice but to see the police pour over our lives, to sit in a coroner's court while their deaths were dissected, to organize a memorial service and phone their friends to hear the same platitudes over and over. I had no choice but to go through pregnancy, labor, the early weeks of anxious motherhood without my mother's guidance. I had no choice. They did. My parents chose to deceive me, not only when they disappeared, but every single day since. The doorbells ring again, again, again. My mother keeps her finger pressed, and the bell rings shrill and insistent through the spine of the house. I clamp my hands over my ears and curl into a tight ball on my bed, but still I hear it. I sit up, stand, pace the length of the bedroom. I go into the ensuite and turn on the shower, sitting on the edge of the bath while the room fills with steam and the mirror mists over. Then I strip off my running clothes and step in, pulling the door shut and cranking the temperature till it's so hot it hurts. Beneath the shower, I can't hear the bell. I tip up my head, letting the water fill my ears, my nose, my mouth until it feels as though I'm drowning. I give in to tears that started when I saw my mother and froze the second I understood. She chose to stay away. I cry with a physicality I had never before experienced, doubled over with the sobs that forced their way from the pit of my stomach. When I sob so hard, I feel too weak to stand. I sit and wrap my arms around my knees. The water runs off my bent head and pulling in my lap. I cry until I am exhausted, until the water runs to ice and my flesh is goosebumped. When I switch off the shower, my limbs stiff and cold. I listen, silence. She's gone. The sharp stab of grief takes me by surprise. I chastise myself for the chink of weakness it suggests. I have lived without my parents for over a year. I have survived. I will survive. There is nothing they could say now that would win my forgiveness. It is too late. I find comfort in the softness of an old pair of jogging bottoms and a faded sweatshirt I steal from Mark's side of the wardrobe. Thick cashmere socks. I rough dry my hair with a towel and twist it into a loose bun, just as I am beginning to feel, if not better, then more together. The doorbell rings. I freeze, wait till a full minute. It rings again. The single-mindedness I used to admire, envy, almost in my mother now taunts me. She's not going to give up. I could stay here all day, and she will wait and ring and shout. White hot rage cracks through the veneer of calmness I had convinced myself was real, and I storm from my bedroom and down the stairs. How dare she? A whole year. It rattles around my head like a ball bearing in a pinball machine, firing shots indiscriminately. For a whole year she has lied to me, to everyone. I arrive in the hall so fast, and with so little control, that my sock slips from under me and I crash into my back. The breath knocked from me with such velocity that when I pick myself up, I feel as sore as if I'd fallen from the top of the stairs. The doorbell rings again. Rita is nowhere to be seen. Even the dog has stopped hoping I'll answer. against the door. But when my mother sets her mind to something, she doesn't rest. A whole year. If someone had told me 6 months ago this morning, though, even that I could one day tell my mother to leave me alone, I'd have thought them insane. But this is exactly what I'm going to do. The past can't be undone. You can't lie to someone and then bowl back into their lives and expect to be forgiven. Some lies are too big for that. A whole year of lies. I fling open the door. There you are. I thought you must be upstairs. You'll have to bring the pram up for me, dear. I don't like doing it with the baby inside in case it topples. Joan looks at me curiously. Are you all right, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost. Chapter 30. Murray. Sarah was mopping the kitchen floor. This was not a reflection of Murray's own efforts the previous day, but an indication of Sarah's rising anxiety. The change had been sudden, like the sun disappeared behind a cloud. Murray had tried to hang on to the feeling of contentment he had had as they'd driven home from Johnson's car, laughing about Ginger's thought sale, but like trying to recall 30 degrees heat in the depths of winter. It had eluded him. Murray wasn't sure what the trigger had been. Sometimes there wasn't one. Sit down and have a cup of tea. I want to do the windows first. It's Christmas Eve. So? Murray looked through the radio times for something to distract them. It's a Wonderful Life was probably not ideal. The snowman's on in a minute. There's a surprise. She dumped them up on the bucket. I bet even Alec Jones is sick of that one. Murray would have rifled on it, but Sarah's brow was knitted in a deep V as she looked under the sink for window cleaners and a cloth, so he let it out without comment. Murray was good at reading the signs, at taking the lead from someone else and mirroring their reaction back to them. He had done it for years with criminals, long before nonverbal communication became something you had to be taught in a classroom. He had done it for years at home. It was tiring, though, and not for the first time. Murray wished he and Sarah had children to dilute the ripples of her condition, and he had wanted them desperately. But Sarah had been too frightened. What if they take after me? He was deliberately misunderstood. Then he'll be the luckiest kid in the world. What if they inherit my head, my fucked up bastard shitty head? She had started crying, and Murray had wrapped her in his arms so she couldn't see that his own eyes were leaking too. "Or my nose," he said gently. There was a hiccough of laughter from the folds of his jumper, and then she pulled away. "What if I hurt them?" "You wouldn't. You'd only ever hurt yourself." Murray's reassurance had fallen on deaf ears. Sarah became terrified of falling pregnant, refusing to be intimate with Murray. She spiraled into a paranoid episode involving weeks of pointless pregnancy tests in the unlikely event that Eastbourne had been selected as the location of the next immaculate conception. Eventually, the GP agreed to approve her Sarah for sterilisation for the sake of her mental health, which meant it was just Murray and Sarah. They could have spent Christmas with Sarah's brother and his family, but Sarah's recent admission meant that no plans had been made. Murray wished he hadn't already got the tree down from the loft, or that he'd had the foresight not to buy a pre-decorated one. At least it would have given them something to do, something other than cleaning. Sarah was kneeling on the draining board to do the kitchen windows, and Murray was looking for another cloth. He may as well make himself useful when he heard the sound of singing from outside the front door. "We three kings of Orient are one in a taxi, one in a car, one in the scooter, blowing his hooter." The singing stopped and was replaced by raucous laughter. "What on earth?" Sarah was curious enough to put down the window and come with Murray to the front door. "Happy Christmas!" Nish's partner Gil thrust a bottle of wine at Murray. "And welcome home!" Nish handed Sarah a gift bag with a large beribboned tag. "You don't get anything," she said to Murray. "Oh, 'cause you're a miserable old codger." She grinned. "Aren't you going to invite us in? Proper carol singers get mince pies and mulled wine." "Mince pies I think we can do," Murray said, opening the door wide. Sarah was clutching the gift bag with both hands, her eyes startled. I was just. She looked towards the kitchen as though planning her escape. Murray left her heart sink. Murray felt his heart sink. He held her gaze and wondered how to make her understand that he needed this. Friends over on Christmas Eve, mince pies, carols, normality. Sarah hesitated, then gave a tentative smile. I was just getting everything ready for Christmas. Come on in. Murray found the waitress mince pies he'd been keeping for next day, and glasses for the wine Nish and Gil had brought. He found a CD of King's College carols, and then Nish found one on top of top 10 Christmas hits. Sarah opened her presents and hugged everyone for the impromptu party, and Murray thought Nish and Gil could never know what a perfect gift they'd given him. A little bird tells me you're in the lion's den this morning, Nish said. That hadn't taken long. The lion? Gil was topping up everyone's glasses. Sarah held hers out, and Murray tried not to let his face reflect his thoughts. A bit of alcohol made Sarah buoyant, happy. A lot had the opposite effect. Superintendent Neo Griffiths, Nish explained, fond of roaring. Would the little bird who told you that have had flashing baubles, earrings, and tinsel in his hair? No idea, she texted me. I take it your plans to single-handedly solve Eastbourne's historic murders have been thwarted. Murray took a sip of his wine. If anything, I'm even more determined to get to the bottom of what happened to the Johnsons, especially now things have escalated. Nish nodded. The brick's gone. The brick's gone for further analysis. No fingerprints, I'm afraid. It's a bugger up surface. And whoever wrapped the paper around it was forensically aware enough to wear gloves. But I can tell you that the note wrapped around the brick was printed on different paper to the one used for the card, and it was produced on a different printer. Sarah put down a glass. They came from different people? Not necessarily, but it's possible. That makes sense. Sarah looked at Murray. Doesn't it? One person prompting Anna to dig into the past, the other warning her off. Maybe. Like Nish, Murray was reluctant to commit, but he was fast coming to the same conclusion himself. They weren't dealing with one person, but two. The anniversary card came from someone who knew the truth about what had happened to Caroline Johnson and wanted Anna to ask questions. Last night was a different matter, an instruction, a threat. No police. Stop before you get hurt. Why send a warning unless you're the murderer? Murray couldn't fault Sarah's logic. Whoever threw that brick through the window of Anna's house was responsible for Tom and Caroline's death, and it looked as though they weren't finished with the Johnsons yet. Murray needed to unravel this case before Anna or her baby got hurt.